Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Spooky AF, or welcome to Spooky AF. If this is your first listen, I mean, good luck, have fun.
Okay, you picked a great episode to jump in on.
My name is Suz, and I'm joined by my delightful co-host and really, the guiding North Star of this podcast, Rob. Rob, how are you doing?
Thank you for that lovely introduction, Suz.
No problem.
I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah.
That's pretty much where I am this week. How about you?
Good. I think we need to cover a couple of things before we get into the story this week.
We do. We absolutely do.
So one of them being, for longtime listeners, all the friends of the pod, you know that we normally record early on a Sunday morning. We are not doing that. We're doing it in the evening near the end of a work week, so the energy is weird. So you're welcome.
Yeah. It's a strange one.
Yeah. It's like I had a 5-hour meeting today, so I don't know where this is going.
Good.
My brain
I'm
is
glad you brought that energy. Yeah.
The other thing is, this is our first recording since going to see Uncanny live.
Oh wow, it is actually. Yeah.
Yeah. We need to talk about that.
It was great. I thoroughly enjoyed that. That was a great night.
I had such a good time. Oh my god. It was really well stage produced, really interactive, but in not a cringy way.
No, it was definitely they kind of worked a fine line there between kind of schlocky horror and actually quite tasteful, I thought.
Well, do you want to know the scariest part for me, though?
What?
Was how much I paid for our 2 popcorns and 2 bottles of Coke Zero.
Bizarre. Yeah, I completely agree. Like that and the other thing that happened before the show that we're not going to talk about.
We're not going to talk about that, but we're going to keep talking about that in other contexts forever.
It was a weird energy to the night.
Yeah. I remember we were like, oh, sure, look, let's get popcorn and stuff. We'll make a night of it. So I remember us being there and we got the popcorn, we got the Cokes, and it was fine. It's just popcorn. Then she's like, oh, just tap there. And I looked down and it was €22. And I was like, woo. But you're at that point where you're like, it's too late now. She's already put it through.
That's the Irish person in you know. That
it
avoiding
really is.
All sorts of confrontation.
I know my husband was so disappointed in me because he would have looked her in the eye and been like absolutely fuck off, as if she set the prices.
Yeah, that was wild.
Yeah.
It did kind of. It left me a bit shook as we were going in, and I was like, "This better be the best fucking popcorn we're ever gonna have."
It wasn't either. It was fine.
It was absolutely just fine.
But just fine. Seats were great though. You completely nailed it on the seats. It was actually exactly where I'd kind of want to be sitting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and we got to have a few drinks with Lisa from the Beer Ladies pod beforehand.
Yep.
And co.
That was great crack.
Oh god, so much fun. And I think we gained a couple of listeners to the podcast through that, so...
I hope so.
Hello.
Hopefully they stick around. Hello.
Yeah, we loved meeting you. Stay in contact.
Yeah, it was great crack.
For sure. And I had a very fancy cocktail that had a sprig of lavender in it, which was just so bougie.
Damn. Yeah, you did actually. I've only just registered that is what was in your cocktail.
Yeah. Oh my god. Well, yeah, because when it got there, I took a picture, and not for Instagram. I'm not on socials, but I was just like, I need somebody to record this moment.
Yeah. Pure bouge.
Well, the other scariest thing that night, other than the popcorn, was also, so beforehand, Rob and I got some food before we met Lisa for drinks, and so we went to tell me if this is wrong, but it struck me as half Mexican joint, half kind of coffee barista kind of place, pastry.
Yeah, it was a hipster taco place that also had coffee.
Yeah. So we went in there, and
weird
honestly,
vibe.
The menu looked good.
Yeah.
But the thing that really got me was the fact that we ordered the brisket tacos, because you and I are big brisket bitches.
Absolutely. It should be for everyone.
For sure. And we were served, we were served barbacoa.
We were. And you're 100% correct, we were.
Yeah. So I was heartily disappointed by that.
You actually were. I saw
I
the
was.
disappointment in your face.
I don't really like barbacoa, so I was
Yeah,
just
that's fair.
I was just like, I even gave you my other taco.
You did.
I was just like, oh, fuck it. Like,
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah,
fine.
it was fine.
Yeah,
It was
it's
good.
good.
It was a good night.
It was a
enjoyed
really good night.
Yeah.
Had a fun time.
Yeah.
And I'm still really freaked out about, there was a bit on the stage where they had a dress that like moves by itself, and the way they did that, it looked real creepy.
Yeah, that was
So-
genuinely like quite spooky.
Both of us went, oh no, at the same
Yeah.
time.
It was not okay.
No, not at all. The other thing I think I need to talk to you about is I saw a trailer for Lee Cronin's The Mummy.
Yep. Irishman doing a bit of horror. Gotta love it.
I legitimately watched that trailer and then had to go watch like ASMR and puppies afterward because I was legitimately freaked out by the concept of
Yeah.
that film.
I would love to go see that. That could be a fun one to go see.
Yes, I want to as well. If you want to organize that, we should do that.
Yeah, we'll go see that. Definitely.
Because it legitimately, I was like, oh no, as I was like sitting on the couch.
Yeah, it genuinely looks quite spooky.
Yeah.
Like, I'm big for that now. That looks good. So yeah, I'll definitely go see that.
For sure. Okay. So I need to tell our listeners, which I'm still like every week, I'm just shocked y'all are there. Hello. But I need to tell them that it is your fault that I am not doing something. So I was intending for our first recording of the year. Like in my head, this is how it was going to play out. It was going to be our first recording, and I was going to do my episode, because when we do two, I usually do mine first. So I was going to do my episode, and I was going to start out the recording with, first recording of 2026. Let's start it on the right foot. And then I was gonna give you the next iteration of my Bigfoot series. But it didn't work out that way. It's like, conversations you like schedule in your head and act out in the shower or whatever. Like, that was my plan.
That okay. Firstly, you're gonna have to tell me how I come into this as the problem, but secondly, that would have been delightful.
I know, wouldn't it have been so great? So essentially, didn't work out that way for reasons that were not your fault, but I'm deciding to make it your fault because I need to blame
that's fair.
somebody.
That's fair. Yeah. That's absolutely fair. I respect that then.
Yeah. So, totally fine. But then it kind of just means that I'm just not in the Bigfoot mood. So
That's okay.
So y'all are just gonna have to wait until like the cryptozoologist in me like rises again. So
Give it time, she'll be back.
yeah, that was also what a wild sentence I just said.
Yep.
Do you know you just have to tap into your inner cryptozoologist? And
That one is getting locked in. That's
Yep.
definitely yeah.
And I'll say, like, so I'm doing a pretty short one, but a fun one, I think, and it speaks to my like past interests, which I'll tell you about. But one of the things I always check sometimes is if I do try and like back listen to all of our episodes, including your short ones, because they're just really good. Which I know
Thank you.
sounds like really conceited of me to listen to like our episodes where we're talking, but I legitimately forget what we're talking about, and then I find them really funny. So
This is I edit them, so I'm glad that you have to listen to them afterwards.
if anything, like our audience base is me, and that's fine. Like, we're going through a lot of effort to make me giggle, so
That's fair. That's absolutely fine. Look, if anything, if we're the only people actually listening to this, that would be hilarious.
but sometimes I fall behind, or sometimes I get like turned off listening to them because I am so sorry, y'all. I am so sorry for how many times over the lifetime of this podcast I have started singing. I'm aware I can't carry a tune in a bucket, so like I am so sorry. And
We've gotten a number of comments of people saying that they welcome the singing. So
oh, y'all, come on, therapy, everyone. That should be on everyone's bingo card this year, but no. So anyway, I had to check with you to make sure I hadn't like accidentally missed a short episode where you did this, which you hadn't, which was great.
no, you're right. Yeah.
I don't know if you know this
You're all
about me,
good.
but as a child, I knew I wanted to be a like professor in a university from the age of 6, but I really, which I'm not, by the way, if anybody's interested. But originally I wanted to be a historian. In particular, I wanted to be an Egyptologist.
Yeah, I did know this actually.
Yes, I was obsessed with ancient Egypt for a long time. Partially because as a young child I read Queen of the Damned, which I wouldn't recommend reading to your kids unless you want them to turn out like me. Don't. But I there's obviously like a big Egypt flavor to that. And then I was at the ripe age as like a young bisexual when I was like coming into early preteenhood when The Mummy came out.
I fucking knew you were going to say this.
Yeah. Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz,
yeah.
Both of whom I wanted to both be and be with. Like, how can you choose?
There's an awakening there, and you're correct.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I still to this day like quote aspects of The Mummy when I am drunk. I still go, I am a librarian. And like, it's like not important or funny like that one. And then my husband is so tired of me doing, hey, Benny, you're on the wrong side of the river. But anyway, so sorry. I was always fascinated by ancient Egypt for a really long time. And it kind of like, I kind of had other academic interests as I got older, but I've always still really had a soft spot. And I listen to a lot of podcasts and watch a lot of open like free lectures and things on ancient and modern Egyptian history and things. I find it really fascinating. Well, I didn't know that one of the oldest, if not the oldest, recorded, like, written ghost story we have comes from ancient Egypt.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting that they felt the need to write this down and like, document it.
Oh, I'm going to get into why they wrote this down.
Excellent.
And it is really cool and interesting and kind of funny. So
I'm glad that you're doing this because you'll provide context that I never would bother to provide if it was a short episode.
Well, I was also really worried that I was going to do this and you're going to be like, yeah, that was our first day in archaeology and then you were just going to like actually me the whole time, which would have been fair because I didn't do a degree in archaeology, but...
No, don't worry. Weirdly, we actually kind of didn't really talk about Egypt that much in my archaeology degree, and I'm only now realizing that that was probably quite strange of an oversight.
Is that not a bit like you did a degree in English literature and you never talked about Shakespeare?
Like, kind of. I guess, like, the main focus of the degree would have been, like, Northern European and Irish archaeology.
I guess that makes sense.
A dabbling of like Greco-Roman.
Well, you know what? No, I don't think that makes sense. Now, here I am criticizing the curriculum here, but I feel like that sounds more like a targeted master's program, whereas as a bachelor's program, you really should have done more of a full survey.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
I did choose a lot of experimental archaeology modules myself, so it could be of my own making that I didn't really do too much with Egypt.
My first thought when you just said experimental archaeology courses, I just immediately thought of you in like mummy style, like from the film clothing, grave robber style, and you just like absolutely punching pieces of pottery for no reason. I don't know why I thought that, but
I'm gonna be completely honest with you. You're not 100 miles off like what experimental archaeology is kind of like.
Okay, we're going to talk about this more later off the pod because I need to know more about this.
Yeah, it's a lot of trying to reproduce techniques and things like that that have been kind of potentially lost or are misunderstood.
I have a colleague who did a PhD in archaeology, and they said that archaeology fieldwork teams, like, please tell me if this is correct, are just rife with, like,
alcoholism,
drunken romantic liaisons, to put it mildly.
The amount of beer that's consumed by archaeologists is actually, like, I think they're keeping the industry afloat.
Like, yeah, they were like, it is drinking and sex from, like, minute one to the wrap-up.
Yeah, it's like the Olympic Village, basically. Like,
oh, God, that is... I love those stories coming out of the Olympic Village.
Instead of, like...
But instead of peak athletes,
it's mostly it's burly, dirty people who are like pissed off their tits off cheap beer,
and who are just big old nerds.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like it's like the Olympic Village, except for like the peak of athletic endurance and.
Yeah, this is more peak athletic endurance though of consuming alcohol.
I respect that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And look, you have to give it your 100%.
You do,
or you're just not in it. Yeah.
No, it's true. So, apologies.
Unfortunately, I've stopped the archaeology aspect to it, but I've maintained the drinking aspect to it. So, I like to think that I like to think that a part of me is still a little bit of an archaeologist inside. It's just I'm not digging anymore.
Well, Rob, the part of you that is your liver.
Exactly, 100%, and it'll be studied in future years.
I'll make sure of it. Oh, that sounded
Thank
really
you.
threatening. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean. I'll make sure. Like they'll never stop finding the body.
No, that's fine. It wasn't received as a threat, but now I'm kind of like I'm actually all right with that too. So it's fine.
Oh, speaking of organs and jars, great segue. Let's get on to the So skippers, apologies, not really. We know what we are. So yeah, I want to tell one of the oldest ghost stories, and I want to give a little bit of context to the Egyptian afterlife that maybe people may not, some of it they may have heard, but some of it they may not have, and then some interpretations of the story, of its cultural purposes, and then some of the reasons and problems around Egyptian artifacts currently in museums and like ancient Egypt in modern culture.
Caesar, are we going to talk about the British Museum today? Because I'm going to have a lot of thoughts on that if we do.
We are going to talk about a lot of European museums, Rob.
Fuck. Okay.
Yeah, and not specifically the British Museum in this one, which is hilarious. I did see, I think they just released like an ad campaign that was entirely AI slop.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me at all.
It's like an AI Asian woman standing in front of like the Asian art that they have, and it's just wow. Seems
I'm
like
shocked
a lot.
that the body who spent their entire existence stealing from others has also stolen art, like the originality of art.
To be fair, maybe there's more context to it. I saw the thumbnail of the YouTube video, didn't watch. TLDW.
Yeah, I don't need additional context. It's the British Museum. They're naturally in the wrong regardless.
Also, at least at the Louvre, like yeah, everything like all this, there's like a lot of stolen shit there, but at least it's like a beautiful building and it's set up in an aesthetic, interesting way. I felt so disoriented and underwhelmed by the British Museum. Like I don't know.
That's fair.
Maybe just me.
That's fair. Well, I'm going to London in July, and I have a day of museums planned, so I'll be able to take notes for which I think is the best laid out.
Ooh, you should go to the medical museum.
That is a good shout, actually.
Yeah,
I'll add that to the list.
It's really fun. It's really disturbing. All the things you want.
Good. Yeah, this is also the first time my wife is hearing about this planned museum day, so if she doesn't catch up to the podcast, she won't know. So that's probably for the best.
Yeah, just like I would just like thrust this on her in surprise.
I'll be like, I told you. I announced it to the world.
Exactly. It's on the internet.
Yeah. It's actually, frankly, on you for not listening to us. So, yeah.
So this story dates from the 19th, 20th dynasty, which is, according to experts in the field, this is in the. Now, again, I'm so sorry. I did look up pronunciations, but I'm still really bad at like reading phonetic, or like reading the way that they talk about pronunciation. So no offense at all. So this is the Ramessid period, I believe. So before we get into it, I do want to go over some sources and a very cursory examination of some of the ancient Egyptian beliefs and funerary practices that will come into play here. So my sources include Wikipedia. Please donate where you can. Egypt Museum, like some of the main Egyptian museum have a website that's really informative. History Collective, EgyptMythology.com, World History Encyclopedia, and National Museum Scotland.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
And obviously there's a lot of like scholarly sources on this that are like behind paywalls that I just didn't bother to try and like go over because that's not
the way.
That's not this pod. You know that's not this pod. We're here
Absolutely
we're here for the lulz. So spooky lulz. So now obviously we only know materially about this story these days because of early 20th century archaeologists. Rob, do you want to weigh in on the ethics of how things were done in archaeology in the early 20th century?
The SparkNotes version is not well.
Yep. Not equitably or ethically.
The slightly longer version is horrifically. The ethics at the time, the just straight up theft of just numerous artifacts and incredibly shitty practices. It leaves a lot to be desired. I'll say this, like, Indiana Jones is probably in my top favorite films of all time.
Okay.
Horrific archaeologists, though. Like, just going in and stealing shit and just saying it deserves to be in a museum. Yeah, it does, but not in your country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I watched there's a John Oliver episode where he's talking about, like, the ownership of, like, cultural pieces that are in, essentially, like, European and North American museums.
Yeah.
And there was this one absolutely horrid interview with a woman at, I can't remember if it was the British Museum or not, but she was like, well, look, you wouldn't give a child back to an abusive parent who can't take care of it. And I was like, oh, God. Like, I couldn't even finish the episode because I was like, I have to nope out here. I'm so sorry. There was a level of posh condescension that I couldn't even process.
They're still doing it today. They won't return the marbles to Athens or above the Parthenon because they were like, oh, they don't have a proper facility for storing them, so we're keeping them instead. It's like, that's not your decision to make.
Nope.
Like, it doesn't matter if they can't store them correctly. That's not on you.
No, it's really not.
Yeah. But yeah, the early practices of the early 20th century and late 19th century archaeologists were wild. They basically just fucking dug up everything, no consideration for preserving sites, and generally were just menaces, really. I suppose that's the way to term it.
Yeah, so pretty much. So basically, that's kind of the context in which you're working. So all of the pieces of what I'm going to get into, the materials on it, they're in, for what I understand, like, I think they're spread across 4 or 5 museums. I don't think any of them are in Egypt, which is saying something.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So they were discussed, like, the story, they were kind of put together in the late 19th, and the most recent piece, I believe, was connected to the others I think it's in the Museum of Turin now, in 1905. Okay. So they were discovered on Ostraka, which are broken pieces of pottery with writing on it. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it tells one of the first recorded ghost stories. So here's some context that may be interesting to listeners. So Egypt was obviously around for a long-ass time, like the ancient Egyptian civilization. Its society, economy, and political structures were complex and therefore not reducible to like a totalizing statement about their beliefs, their religion, culture, people. It's all dependent on everything else, and it was something that was fluid and living. And, like, you can't, I mean, obviously, like, somebody's life in the early dynastic period in ancient Egypt versus the late could have been wildly different in many aspects, and then some things were persistent and the same. So it's important to keep that kind of, like, multi-dimensional, ongoing conversation amongst texts and sources and things, is that much like you can't just say that, like, all Christians believe this, because there's almost nothing you can say that would actually represent all of them.
No, absolutely. And I think a lot of people maybe don't appreciate how long Egypt has been around for.
Because it's hard to conceptualize that amount of time.
Like Cleopatra in, like, history was closer to the time of the moon landings than she was to the construction of the pyramids.
Yep.
Like, it's kind of mind-boggling when you think about how long Egypt was around for. Like, when Cleopatra was born, ancient Egypt already existed. As ancient Egypt.
Yeah, exactly. It was already considered the ancient world.
Yeah. It's wild.
It is wild. And it's one of those, it's a bit like when you start to consider any, like particularly, like, well-documented long-lasting civilization, like early China and things. It's so long ago that it's hard to even think that we'd have any connection to how we live now to them. But we actually do, and I'm going to get into it. So... Good. Essentially, what we can say is that throughout ancient Egyptian civilization, there were some overarching features, and one of them was that dying was an incredibly important, if not the most important, part of your existence. Mm-hmm. Yep. And so many people know about the practices of mummification, partly due to the acting masterpiece of The Mummy and The Mummy Returns, which, by the way, they're both, like, signed on to do a new, like,
the sequel.
Yes, I can't. Yeah. I can't talk about the fact that I'm living in a world where there's going to be another Harry Potter series, another Buffy, and another Mummy. This is either going to be the best or the worst year of my life.
The X-Files has also recently gotten a reboot as well.
What?
Yep. And they've basically just brought on the entire writing and directing cast from Sinners to do it. Yeah.
This is too much. There you
go. Yeah. And also, Brendan Fraser is just back.
I just love Brendan Fraser so much.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
sorry. Okay, sorry. Anyway, so we're talking about dying. Mummification we all know about, so I'm not going to really dwell on that. But I do want to highlight some important dimensions of Egyptians' belief around death and its complex and changing ideal of the afterlife. So this is a great quote that from one of my sources. I said, the Egyptians strongly believed in three things: an underworld where souls go after death, eternal life, and rebirth. But not rebirth as in reincarnation on this earth necessarily. It was more about you going through the process that would then lead to your rebirth in an eternal, what Christians would probably call heaven, or like Abrahamic faiths. But they often called it the land of reeds. And it was a place where there was no sickness, no poverty, and it was like eternal comfort and peace.
Yeah, it does sound delightful, to be fair. And
For sure.
The whole thing about like going down the river and like a boat and everything, and
Yeah.
a lot of similarities to Greek mythology, actually. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, I mean, can we at least create like a VR space for that?
Oh, I'm absolutely certain someone has. I'd be shocked if they haven't.
I was
actually,
like,
as a segue, I was actually in a university that you used to work in.
oh god, oh I know this, I know this.
And I was in a visit that we do with my work, and one of the aspects of the visit was that we got a tour of some of the facilities.
Right.
And we were brought into a VR experience room where we got to experience an immersive VR experience of the Bible, basically.
Oh god.
Where it was like you were brought into like a room in a virtual space that's supposed to be like basically the voice of God talking to you, and you can like look and learn about the Bible and stuff like that. So if someone has done that, I'm almost certain someone has probably looked at ancient Egypt too.
I'm now understanding that the VR like metaverse is much broader than I thought, because everyone I've ever heard talk about like VR chat and shit, it's all just gooning. It's just gooning.
Well,
and
this was gooning for Christ, to be fair.
Well, see, when you said a Bible experience, I legitimately thought you were going to be like, and then I was on a cross. like,
I mean, I didn't get that far into it, so maybe you do.
Dude, yes, okay, no, we need to explore this further. We're going to talk about this later. So, and I'm sorry, if I'm sitting down with the voice of God in the Bible, I'm going to talk about editorial practices, and we're going to get into discussions around what was included and what was excluded, because you are talking to someone who watches the YouTube channel Religion for Breakfast during breakfast every morning. So, I have a few questions about Enoch. So, anyway, I know the Suz lore gets more upsetting every time I drop some, but there you go.
It's just adding to the mystery.
There you go. So, Land of Reeds, there was a belief that souls could be reunited with their bodies again in the Land of Reeds. So, like, you would literally be reborn, like in a physical way in the Land of Reeds, not just kind of often like Abrahamic faiths, when they talk about heaven, it's more of like, your soul, like your body gets left behind and your soul goes up to heaven.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's caveats and things like that, but it's a slightly different interpretation.
Yeah, that I prefer this one, to be perfectly honest with you. I'd be kind of cool with this, where it's like you get another shot, but everything's better.
Your liver's like, not again. Sorry. That's like my favorite meme that said it was like, life is not the end, there is an afterlife, and then that kid's like, there's more. It makes me laugh. But if you think about it, if you are going to like use your body again, preservation and then veneration and protection of that body are essential. They're key. So that really connects to the funerary practices of ancient Egypt. Like, why bother preserving bodies in such a very like routinized particular way? Why bury them with things that they might need because it really does connect to this idea of like this afterlife is a place you physically go to.
Yeah, it's like preparing them for the next like steps. Like it's giving them the tools they need, basically.
For sure. I mean, I did unfortunately read a little bit about retainer sacrifices, which had to suck. Whereas I said, like, if you were wealthy enough and you died, then like essentially like your family and servants would be killed so they could go to the afterlife with you.
Look, like it's just efficiency. Like
Could you imagine if you just signed on and you're like, I must still be in my probation period. This can't be like...
Some dude is coming at you with a knife.
Yeah. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
Be like, I have barely met the man. I haven't even found out how he likes his like underwear folded. Jesus. No, I guess they weren't saying Jesus back then.
No, they definitely were.
Anubis. I'm so sorry.
For Ra's sake.
For Ra's sake. God, Osiris be damned. But I think an interesting thing for me was that the class spread, in that it wasn't, like, obviously wealthy people, pharaohs, important people, they had the most elaborate tombs and burial sites and stuff buried with them, including, peeps. But this was also, like, everyone, to a large extent, did this type of funerary practice. There are cemeteries of, working people, cemeteries of poor people, where there is some level of preservation and honor, because there was almost a belief that, if you're trying to connect it to modern media, you might think of it in, like, the Dia de los Muertos kind of Coco, if you're going Disney World, of, like, wanting to keep someone alive and honored by remembering their name and continuing to celebrate them, and it kind of affecting them in the afterlife.
Yeah, just kind of keeping their memory alive.
Yeah, exactly. So the thing to remember is that there were obviously super particular practices around how you prepare a body, how you're supposed to honor it, bury it, how you're supposed to do everything, the spells you're supposed to say, the prayers, all of it. And they were actually, it was so particular, and it was such a serious aspect to their belief that they developed how-to guides.
Oh shit, okay.
Yeah, so essentially, like, how not to fuck up Grandpa's afterlife,
Good.
So
this is the key information that we need.
Exactly. So some of the early ones were put on what are called pyramid texts, and from what I could see, it was like a piece of parchment or papyrus, I suppose, that in the shape of a pyramid, but it with writing on it, and it essentially kind of walked you through basic steps of, like, this is how long to soak the body in cedar oil. This is how long to, all, like, just, or really literally, like, going on to WikiHow and being like...
God, they really got the branding down with the pyramid-shaped paper and everything. Like, you gotta respect that.
I really respect the PR people working, like, the marketing people in ancient Egypt knew what they were about.
Oh, they 100%. They were like, this is gonna be wild in 5,000 years' time.
Oh, God. They were like... I like to think it was a bunch of girl bosses who were like, no, this goes with the aesthetic. It's like, it really does, like, marry all aspects of us into a single message.
Yeah, trust me on this.
Trust me on this. So they were first recording these pyramid texts, and at least the picture I saw was at a pyramid, so I just assume that they all are. But they then, in slightly later, you can see that they're actually written directly onto coffins and sarcophagi. So
even just skipping the steps and just going straight to the source.
Yeah, so like so it's obviously like intensely beautiful in its, because the hieroglyphics were just really like lovely looking and things. Yep. But essentially it's much the same thing. It's like, okay, this is how you like scramble the brain and pull it out of the nose. That these are the canopic jar locations and things. So and then it's almost like final later iteration is what many people know. It's the Book of the Dead. Mm-hmm. Which was filled with spells, but they were all in, like, they were almost, it wasn't this kind of, dark text as it's often portrayed in various media, such as The Mummy and things, that would, raise people back to life and things. It was really just to aid in the guidance and protection of the souls who had passed through to the next stage of life, because death was considered just a really, like, an important aspect of life.
Just a step, yeah.
Yep. So a lot of people have heard of, there's the weighing of the heart, which you probably heard of as it was a key process in this journey where essentially Anubis acts as a judge and your heart is weighed against the weight of a particular feather. And if your heart is light enough, then you proceed well, and if not, other bad things happen.
That's basically like trying to get into a Dublin nightclub at like 1:00 in the morning on a Saturday. The bouncer being Anubis.
Yeah, but they're not weighing it against a feather. They're weighing it against like a throwaway vape.
Yeah, and how like just out of your mind you are trying to convince them that your heart is light enough.
Well, your heart is light enough if you've like done enough poppers. Like
True.
if you're on enough MDMA.
Yeah, and their way of saying, there's no entry into heaven for them is it's not your night, pal.
There's no getting in, mate. Like,
Yeah.
and then like the instead of like a bell toll or anything, you just hear Mr. Brightside kick on, and you've lost the fight.
Yeah, it's true. Very, very true.
So essentially the process around your death and the preparation of your body and your funerary practice, if it wasn't followed, you may not reach eternal peace. And therefore you may not fulfill your role in life's journey. It was considered that everyone's role in life was to ascend to this peaceful place in the end. Therefore, the concepts of ghosts, if you think about them, are really troubling in this paradigm.
Yeah, actually, when you kind of put it like that, something's gone wrong.
Exactly, something has gone fundamentally wrong. So, I mean, I know that like ghosts are often considered like an aberrance, but they really are like a fundamental divergence from nature. Because this would have been like the natural process of life would have been this journey, and instead you're like this liminal sidestepping of existence. And
yeah,
so,
it doesn't, like, if steps are followed correctly, like, ghosts shouldn't exist in this world, basically.
exactly, and if you are a ghost, you or someone you love has fucked up.
Yeah, you're either an evil bastard or someone has fucked up.
Yeah, exactly. So, let's talk about this ancient ghost story on the Ostraka, and it's about a man who is essentially plagued by a ghost in the beginning. So, I'm going to draw from my sources now, and because they do a better job summarizing, so I'm going to summarize a summary here. It's not a super long story, and we'll actually get into where it ends and why it ends there. But, so scholars differ on interpreting the text. There are some interpretations that say it's a first-person narration, by a speaker who, is spending the night in the necropolis at Thebes. Okay. And then it's like his story that he's telling, and then other scholars claim instead it's a third-person narration the whole time. So, I mean, so there's a little bit of a difference in, like, POV there. But, just to note that the story is fragmentary, and the conclusion does break off in a really interesting way, I think. So, with that said, it's essentially I'm on the wrong page. There we go. All right. So, the story is, the very beginning of it we don't think. It's essentially, you can kind of draw from the context that an unnamed man is, for a reason, forced to spend the night next to a tomb in the Theban necropolis, and is awakened in the middle of the night by an angry ghost, or a sad ghost. Interpretations differ. So, the man, being very shaken by this encounter, goes to the high priest of Amun, whose name is Khonsuemheb, I believe. Okay. And told him of his encounter. So Khonsuemheb, as a high priest of Amun, calling the gods from his rooftop to summon the ghost, essentially to talk to it, maybe to better understand it. We're not sure, but the ghost shows up, and Khonsuemheb asks his name, and the ghost says that he is Nebusimek, who is the son of Akhmin and the lady Tamshas. And so Khonsuemheb says, well, dude, why are you here? And the ghost says, essentially, my tomb has fallen into disrepair. Like, the wind is touching my bones now. I have been forgotten. My name, which your name is like the real essential part of your identity, which in some ways, if you think about it, connects to stories around like never tell a fairy your name in Ireland, kind of thing.
Literally just about to say, it's actually mad how that does tie into the fairies and even like demon lore and all that, like the power of the name and all that.
Exactly. So it's really, some of those commonalities are really interesting. So it's the same here. It's like essentially like his name physically can't be read anymore on the tomb.
That's actually really sad that it's like he has been forgotten, so now he's a restless spirit, basically.
Yeah. So Khonsuemheb, the high priest, offers to build him a new tomb and provide a gilded Sisyphus, which is a wooden coffin, in order to make the ghost peaceful. However, the ghost is unpersuaded by the high priest, and because he says that he has spoken to people before who have promised him similarly and have not followed through.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah. So, he's been jaded before. Nobody's actually swiping right. I don't know. I was trying to like make it relatable, but I've never been on the dating app, so I don't even know if that's the direction you go. So
the priest is like, I got you, fam.
Yeah. He's like, I'll help you rebrand, and we're gonna find you that eternal resting place. So, Khonsuemheb is deeply moved by this, as sits next to the ghost and cries with him, and actually offers to share his unfortunate fate, and deprives himself of food, water, air, and daylight. Obviously not for very long, because he's still kicking around in the next sentence.
Yep.
So the ghost tells of his past life. He says, because this kind of like basically the gesture by the high priest kind of says, well, maybe this guy's more serious than the other people who I've encountered. And then, so the ghost tells him who he was. He was an overseer of the treasuries and a military official under Pharaoh Rahotep. He died. He even said it's written what year he died in. It was the summer of regnal year 14 of the Pharaoh Mentuhotep. And that the pharaoh provided him with his own like special canopic set, an alabaster sarcophagus, and a 10 cubits shaft tomb, which kind of speaks to his importance in life.
Yeah.
However,
cool.
It's not been maintained. It's all collapsed, and importantly, like the wind and elements are reaching into to literally like brushing his bones.
Yeah.
So Khonsuemheb then says, I will comply with any of your requests. I feel really bad for you. And he actually offers 10 servants to make daily offerings at the grave once it is relocated. But
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so the ghost laments and says like, oh, I don't know, I don't think so. But it's at this point that the text cuts off a bit. So there's a break in the story, and then the next fragment we have actually reports that Khonsuemheb sent men in search of a more appropriate burial place, and it was found at a place called Deir al-Bahari, and the men returned to Karnak, where Khonsuemheb is located, that's where his kind of officiating duties are, and they report. He then becomes joyful and informs the deputy of the estate of Amun Minkau about his plan, and then it ends. That's it.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. But it's kind of implied that Khonsuemheb's efforts pacified the ghost and actually brought him peace.
Oh, that's nice. That's actually quite a wholesome ending to a ghost story.
It gives me a bit of like if the haunting of Bly Manor was in ancient Egypt.
You've literally just read my fucking mind. Like, word for word read my mind.
Because it very much, I think it brings in several questions. One of them being like, is every ghost like a story gone horribly wrong?
Yeah, there's always that kind of like sadness elements to ghost stories, and like ghosts are like spirits that are suffering, or like they can't go on to the next plane of existence or whatever it is because something is still holding them back and all that. It is an inherently sad thing when you think about it.
It is, and I think there's a couple of interpretations that we can talk about. So some of them are like, there's one of the sites run by Egypt Museum. They were saying that a possible moral of the story is that Khonsuemheb actually gave this individual back his dignity, and that it's about the importance of dignity in life, and death is a part of life, and that we are to the kind of duty that we have to each other stretches beyond our the mortal realm and things. So there's something there which is really kind of lovely and communal and very extends well into many other cultures and societies, and kind of talks about a base humanity.
Yeah, for sure. And it's that exact thing. I suppose it would probably also give a lot of comfort to maybe like older people as well at the time, to think that, these stories are here and they're not going to be forgotten and all that as well. Like, it's probably comforting to people who are kind of going like, ooh, I'm pretty close to that myself.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And it's important to, so much about, I think that anthropologists and sociologists and things and archaeologists would say a lot about, human, kind are our compulsion, our kind of hardwiring to ritualize death, to mark it in some way, whether good or bad, is us like dealing with it and how we celebrate. I mean, if you think of like the difference between, I don't know, I'm thinking like collective like mourning and like great sadness, that you might even see like in like an extreme weird case as in like when a North Korean leader dies versus how death is marked in like a New Orleans style funeral.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And
It's like how do we come to terms with our own existence?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I think we talked about it before on this actually, where, I actually think that the Irish funeral practices are like a very healthy thing for people, because we kind of just deal with it head on. Like, there's no kind of like shying away from the death or anything. It's, you bring them home and it's like right there in their fucking living room. Like that's where the body is.
Well, it's very much like, oh, grab some tea. It's by grandma's left ear. Like.
Yeah. It's like you go to the wake and you have like tea and sandwiches and like you chat to people and there's a body just in the room with you and it's just completely normalized. But I do firmly believe that it's like, it is a healthy thing. It kind of removes a certain taboo element from it. It's interesting. The different funerary practices around the world as well. Like it baffles me sometimes where like some people wait like weeks before they have a funeral. Like,
yeah,
me,
I mean
that's
sometimes
such a, like a drawn out.
Sometimes like logistically you have to.
No, for sure.
Like
no, like
if
that,
you have
that all
people
makes
coming
sense,
in,
yeah.
like yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean just kind of like normalized practice of like someone dies and it's like 4 weeks later they have the funeral and that's just kind of standard for them. Like to me, I'm just like, that's fucking mad. Like that's in Ireland it's like less than a week and you're gone. Like we're efficient about it.
Well, and it's like I understand the Irish funerary practices in a way because there's something kind of similar that goes on in the American South. Like we don't have the climate to really be taking dead bodies into our houses, but it's not good. But we do have a very much a like awake culture of like the family of the individual that dies gets enough food from everyone that they don't have to cook for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, and there's an element of celebration. There's like the graveside service versus, and then like the wake is usually in the home of the individual, and there's a very kind of connecting of the death to those who are still there and what does it mean and all that. So I really do understand that, and I love that. I guess one of the reasons I chose this is I just really love the idea that one of the oldest like ghost stories that we have recorded isn't scary.
Yeah. It's a nice thing, actually. It is. It's lovely. Where
it's like that moment, and again, spoilers ahead if you haven't watched this, but if you haven't watched this, what the hell are you doing? But like, it's like the moment in The Haunting of Hill House when you realize that Nellie is the bent neck lady.
It's that exact same feeling, yeah, where you're just like, Jesus, I actually just feel like immense sadness for this person now. It's not.
Yeah, you're like, I'm not scared anymore. I feel so sad.
Yeah, I feel nothing anymore.
And I also love the idea that we continue to have a duty to each other's memory and to each other's dignity.
For sure, yeah, absolutely. No, it is a nice thing, and yeah, it's that kind of keeping alive their memory. And I like the idea of like giving them the tools they need to move on to the next life, and then like maintaining that like almost like promise to them even after they're gone. It's cool.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I love that there's, like, from what I was reading, it seems to be almost like that these practices were embedded at every level of society for many ancient Egyptians.
Yeah,
I would imagine, like...
It's a one guaranteed constant for everyone, so...
Yeah. Death, taxes, and at least one case of diarrhea.
Yeah.
Those
It'll get all of you.
Eventually.
Yeah, and maybe in that order.
I love the idea that you're like, not only are you an aberrant of nature, that you're now a ghost, but you're a ghost with diarrhea.
And a letter from Revenue, a spooky letter from Revenue.
Every letter from Revenue is spooky, Rob.
Exactly. Yeah.
I want to say, my favorite bit about dealing with Revenue in Ireland is that they are so their rules are so incomprehensible. You can't make heads or tails of them. There's so many caveats and loopholes and shit. But then if you get them on the phone, like the 3 hours that they are active during like the 1 day a week they take calls, they're absolutely sound.
Yep, and they sort out your problem in minutes. Yep.
They're like, oh, sure, look, yeah, no, I know exactly why that happened. I will fix that on my end. And you're just like, this has been weeks of my life.
Yep.
I Okay. They're like, yep, that 3,000 euro will be in your account tomorrow. And you're like, oh my God.
Yep. Yep. Look, for all these fancy online portals, it still doesn't beat the culture in Ireland of pick up the phone and ring them.
Do you know the other reason that I chose this ghost story, though?
Why?
Was that it gives me slight Beetlejuice vibes of you get to the afterlife and it turns out you're stuck.
Yeah, I can see that.
For like bureaucratic reasons of like somebody didn't do something right and now you're forced to haunt this place for the next 800 years or something.
Oh God, I can't. I genuinely can't even imagine that.
Just like, oh, just that woman just like, take a number. Like, if I knew then what I know now, I wouldn't have had my little accident. Like, so I think that's I that's one of the other reasons is that there's an element of like real humanity and sadness and really cultural interest, and then there's another element of being like, God, is everything just bureaucracy?
Yes, is the answer.
Yes, we know that. We know that.
Oh, absolutely. No surprises there for anyone.
Yeah. So that's it. I mean, unfortunately, and what's really sad, I think, is that none of these pieces, to my knowledge, are in the same place.
Of course they aren't.
No, they're in like Turin and Paris and a few other places. And but what I do think is interesting though is that they were like, I think like 4 of the 5 or however, like part of the collective except for the last one were found in the late 1800s. And so without the final piece, the story was quite different. The interpretations of it.
Okay.
And so it wasn't until they found that piece in 1905 that it actually became like a slightly different story. So
That's
you never know.
cool.
Like we're still missing bits, so maybe there's opportunity for the story to be more complete at some point.
It's weirdly kind of it's weirdly kind of poetic that a story about making sure that someone's memory is kept alive, that the story itself is also fragmented.
Yeah, I mean it does give a different. It's like, you know how I said at the beginning, like they'll never stop finding your body. I think it's like you'll never stop finding the story.
Exactly. Yeah. This is weirdly kind of it's weirdly poetic that it works out nicely.
Maybe the next piece will turn it into a comedy.
I was about to say, could you imagine if the next one is literally like, and he was a miserable bastard, and then we have to spend the next few like parts of the story undoing the work that we've just done.
Or we found out that he was like a real bastard in life, and his like jilted lover destroyed the tomb, and then her ghost shows up being like, no, even in death, I'm gonna like, oh man, I can see it now. We could turn this into a spooky rom-com.
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's kind of it. I hopefully didn't bore anybody with like facts about Egyptian afterlife that everybody already knows. But
absolutely not.
Okay. So yeah, I thought that was a really fun one, interesting, and a direction we haven't gone really much into that part of the world.
Nope. But I think it might be the first time we've gone into that part of the world.
Yeah, I mean, and it's such a such a rich literary tradition, a rich cultural tradition, religious tradition. I'm actually watching a series that teaches you basic Coptic via the Book of Thomas.
You and I have such different practices.
I mean, I also restarted my Animal Crossing island, so there's a lot going on in my life right now.
Fair. That's absolutely fair. Like, I thought my big news is I got a pair of Doc Martens the other day.
You did? Oh my God, you did.
Suz is like, I'm learning Coptic.
I don't know how better to explain to people. I have never been bored. Ever.
Good.
That is just not like an experience I understand. I am always like doing something.
Good. No, look, it's a good way to do things. It's definitely a good way to be. So I respect the fuck out of that.
Yeah. But I also, your Doc Martens look really nice, by the way. And it's nice to see you in something that's not flip-flops in the winter.
Well, I was out in flip-flops in the winter. Prior, I went out for a walk, and my wife was like, are you wearing flip-flops and shorts? I was like, yes, I am.
You are such a Northwestern European white man. Like, Midwest Americans have this energy, too, where they're like...
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Yep. They're like, watch me walk out in January in, like, hot pants and a crop top.
Yeah, and I was comfortable. Look, I had a hoodie on, and then I had my shorts and my flip-flops. I was ready to party.
My sister-in-law does that as well, so it's not just a man thing.
Yeah, exactly.
She lives in board shorts.
Perfectly normal.
It's perfect. I wouldn't say that. I would say it's a common practice, which does not make it normal. And it doesn't
Agree to
make it
disagree.
wise. Agree to disagree. And on that note, that's the last episode of the pod we're ever going to do. That was it.
Good.
That's the end of the
Excellent.
friendship.
We finished now.
We're done.
Keep our memory alive, everyone.
Or don't. Also, all of y'all should help us establish at what number, like, what's the benchmark point at which Rob and I get a tattoo of our logo?
Yeah, we did try to have this conversation.
Yeah.
And we couldn't figure it out, so we'll
No.
put it to everyone else.
Yeah. We're
because I
accepting
think-
opinions.
Yeah, I think this episode we're getting close to we're getting numbers up there now. Like main episodes is what I mean, because the short ones are different. But I think I might be correct in saying that this episode is going to be nice. Episode 69.
Yes.
You have the honor of episode 69.
Oh, I love that. And I'm also calling 420 when we get there. and
Absolutely,
then
that's fair.
You can. I'll give you 666.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, no. Can we make a pact now that 666 we do our like joint infield haunting?
Okay, that's fair.
Yep. Okay.
That's appropriate.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Yeah,
There
you
you go.
message me numbers about downloads and listens and things, and it just scares me.
Yeah, we blitzed past like 20,000 downloads there a while ago, and I kind of just
God.
forgot. I for my own well-being, I don't check these numbers often.
Are we sure that it's not just Lisa from Beer Ladies Pod that just downloaded us 20,000 times because she's an absolute homie?
If it is, fair play to her. So thank you if that's the case.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah,
she's great.
We do get some random listens from different parts of the world, which is very funny. Every once in a while, just a random place will pop up and listen a few times. I'm like, oh, very good.
I would
caught
love,
me off guard.
like please tell them where we're at so they can like pop in and just say hi and where you're from.
For sure. Yeah, because yeah, I would love to actually hear where people are coming from. So yeah, you can get us on Instagram and Threads. You can get us at the Spooky F Pod, and you can also get us in the YouTube comments at Spooky F Podcast, and you can get us on Gmail at the spookyfpodcast@gmail.com. I would love
Like
to hear
how
from you about
big
this.
how big is the paranormal playground really?
Vast. If we look at the map that I have in front of me of all the countries.
Oh, for a minute there I thought you had like there's a YouTuber I watch named Plumbella who mapped out like Sim Nation based on all the places like mentioned in The Sims, and I just thought you had like a map of like the land of reeds, heaven, hell, like like different
On my
levels
conspiracy
of
wall.
yes. So yeah,
Unfortunately not. I'm sorry to disappoint.
it's fine. I disappoint you all the time, and I'm sure all the listeners. And on that note, have a great day, night, weekend, weekday. I love the idea that you're listening at work when you're not really putting in effort. That pleases me.
It brings me joy. That's the
it
one
does.
thing you can do to keep our memory alive is do that while you're working.
Yeah. Please do like boring admin tasks like very half-heartedly with us in the background.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll catch you on the next one.
Take it easy, guys.
Bye.